My name is Ghada Aruri. I was born in Jerusalem in the Old City. And right now I live in Beit Hanina, suburb of Jerusalem. Of course, it's not the easiest thing to be a Palestinian in East Jerusalem under Israeli rule, because I did have struggles and challenges with keeping my ID, with keeping my address. I did need to move several times in several areas of the city in order to keep up with Israeli policies and Israeli, let's say, building of the wall and erecting checkpoints and avoiding tense areas and violence and keeping my children safe. So it hasn't been a very safe and straightforward journey for me and for my children. It's not about the moving of the embassy itself, shocking as it is and disappointing as it is. I think it marks a new era, and it sends a signal that America is definitely on the side of Israel in its breach of international law. America did not take into consideration the presence of 350,000 Palestinians in the city whose rights are already not recognized, and who already suffer from confiscation of their identity cards, residency rights, and their property. For instance, if a Jew said that a certain property is his, then he's likely to take it by Israeli law. But whereas a Palestinian cannot have any claims to either their part of the city or the west side of the city. So it has been for the Palestinians a struggle to remain in their city, to be safe and dignified and respected. And the international community has been, so far, until the declaration, has been saying, yes, we are on the side of international law, of legality. We don't recognize Israeli sovereignty either on the east or the west side of the city. However, now the American government has declared that it's on Israel's side. So it's been hugely demoralizing, hurtful, disappointing, to say the least. I think Israel is now jubilant and more emboldened. I've walked in the Old City on the eve of the declaration, and there were like big Jewish crowds singing in the city, in the Old City, in where is a Palestinian majority. So they were like celebrating. They were given. Obviously, they were given a green light of some sort, or a coronation of some sort for their breach of international law and their illegal presence. The Palestinians, on the other hand, since then they were oppressed, not allowed to protest, not allowed to have sit-ins in their own city and in their own quarters. So I've been to Damascus Gate, I've been to Salah ad-Din Street. I've seen how it is with police violence and police brutality against Palestinian protesters, and Palestinian attempts to express their anger, and they are very right to be angry at this declaration. So this is again manifesting that it's going to mark a very serious era for the Palestinians. They are basically going to be to feel even more abandoned than they have been feeling so far. I want them to remember 380,000 Palestinians live in the city under very harsh conditions of violation and denial of their basic human rights. They don't have a citizenship, they don't have a nationality. They live here as residents, and this residency is under a threat to be revoked at any minute when they decide to leave the city, or if they decide to live elsewhere or marry elsewhere. Children are denied registration at birth. It's very, very truly hard conditions for humanity in the Palestinian part of East Jerusalem, which is not seen or recognized or heard. It's not about hating one side or wanting to hurt another side, but it's a lot of deep anger and frustration that so far neither a peace process nor direct talks or protests have given any results for the Palestinians. On the contrary, each day it's getting worse for them. So this I would like people to think about. Ideally, this should be a shared city. I've grown up in, like I told you, in the old city where there is diversity. There is people from every faith and belonging and nationality. I've enjoyed this in my childhood. I've seen it and I know it works, and this is what I would like Jerusalem to have and keep for the future. Thanks.